Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Wael Sahar. I'm the co-founder and CEO of MidLyr. Before MidLyr, I built payments, risk, and compliance systems in startups like Imprint, big companies like Amazon Payments, and also while advising major banks while at McKinsey. I've sat on both sides of deployment of AI in a regulated industry, and I've also been on the side of approving those deployments. Roshan?
And yeah, hey guys, excited to be here. My name is Roshan. I'm the co-founder and CTO at MidLyr. Previously, I was leading the payments and infrastructure teams at Imprint. I was building like systems that deal with billions of transactions. And before that, I was building like large-scale systems at Grab and Amazon. I spent years building the exact systems that compliance team are now being asked to govern, and which prompts me to this MidLyr business. I'm very excited to be here and to share with you guys.
So today's session is titled AI Shipping Faster Than You Can Govern It. And that title comes from tens and hundreds of discussions we had with compliance professionals over the last couple of years. As AI was kind of getting into every organization, we kept hearing the same concerns around how can we make sure that we're deploying it responsibly, what is the regulatory standard that we need to adhere to, and what are the tools that enables us to be able to do that while not spending months and years building new systems from scratch. So this is a discussion we really wanted to have, and we're happy to jump in. As a housekeeping note, if you have any questions as we go through it, please put it in the Q&A section. We'll try to get to it at the end of this presentation. If not, we're going to follow up with you with answers to your questions as well. So with that, let's get started. There are a few things that we would love to talk about today. The first one is what we're calling the examiner checklist, which is the idea of, as AI is coming into organizations, what would regulators, sponsor banks, stakeholders be looking for from your compliance programs, and how you're managing the risks created by this new technology. The second section, we want to talk about where AI governance is challenging, what we're hearing from folks in the field, and we'll try to summarize what we're hearing and some of our takeaways there. We're going to touch on the build versus buy math. This is a topic that everyone is thinking about. There's a feeling out there in the market that you can build any system today, and we've been trying to think hard about what are the trade-offs, what can be built in-house, and what you can use platforms like MidLyr for. So we're going to share a little bit of our thinking there. We're going to have a couple of demos, and we'll try to show you throughout those demos how MidLyr helps you move from the sprawl of AI deployment to being exam ready and tight when it comes to the evidence of your controls and how your AIs are performing and making decisions. The first thing that we would love to just put in our mind as we go through the whole presentation is that when we talk about AI, we're not really talking about one thing. There's a lot that's happening today, and our mental model is that we think about it really in three different lanes. The first one is closer to the engineering and tech teams. For those of you who have organizations with big engineering teams or even not so big, your tech teams are already using AI. They're using tools like Claude Code, Cursor, Codex to shape products that interacts with customers, that are decision systems for things like underwriting or fraud, servicing chatbots, you name it. Everyone is building a bunch of those today. So that's one lane where AI is being deployed. The other lane, which is harder, is the fact that every third-party system that you're using today has AI baked into it somehow. Everything from your calendar app to your email, but also there are a lot of AI native solutions that have come to the market over the last 3 years. Customer service being one that is very common. There's a lot of AI customer service products out there now. But even your core decisioning systems around fraud and underwriting, they're also embedding a lot of AI capabilities there. So that's another part that sometimes is not very clear, but it is actually part of your AI kind of ecosystem. And then the third one, which is the most pervasive, is that your employees are using AI already. If you have a Microsoft subscription, which everyone does, your team is already using Copilot. If you have subscription to ChatGPT or Claude, your team is using those tools too. Frankly, even if you don't have those subscriptions, your team are using them. Everyone sees the kind of the huge productivity gain, so they're using AI before you clear them to use it, or hopefully after. But that's definitely part of the mix of what is going on in your organization. So when we talk about AI deployment in the organization, we're really talking about those three things: how your tech team is using it to build solutions that are touching customers or critical systems inside the house. Second is how your vendors are bringing AI into your organization. And third is how your employees are just using off-the-shelf AI tools as well. So with that, the first topic that always comes up as we talk to compliance professionals is, what are regulators looking for when it comes to AI deployment? And when we talk about AI, it's good to have the background, right? AI has been in financial services for a very long time. We used to call it machine learning, and every fraud system, every underwriting system uses some form of machine learning today. And there are rules around that. The model risk management kind of guidance, every regulator has those, and most of your teams are going to be very familiar with it. But when it comes to generative AI, which is this new wave that we're in today, that's where things get a little bit murkier. And to cut a long story short, there are guidance coming from regulators, but it's not consistent and it's not very clear yet. So we try to just put together some of the headlines that we have been able to collect and what we heard from compliance professionals. And the upshot is that every regulator is basically talking about it, right? Like the CFPB published a bunch of stuff about how AI chatbots, for example, can lead to UDAP violations, which is something we know about. How there should not be any special provisions for AI tools, like they're going to be held to the same standards. But also, we have seen some early signs of how the regulators are going to act. And I guess the marquee case here is the Apple Card / Goldman Sachs penalty in 24, which wasn't really about the generative AI kind of use, but it was about the regulator dinging, in this case, Goldman Sachs, for using an automated dispute system without the proper control around resolution windows and professional credits and things of that nature. So the regulators are already thinking about it. They're already taking actions. It's not very coordinated. And the latest thing we heard this year in April was the interagency guidance from the OCC, FDIC, and the Federal Reserve around model risk management, and the fact that for today it excludes generative AI usage, but that regulations for that are forthcoming, and we're seeing already activity in the Congress going in that direction. So the one thing to take from that is the regulation is coming, and it is good to be ready for it, because when it happens, it's going to happen very quickly, and you'll need to go, as we've seen from previous regulatory regimes, the regulators are going to go back and ask about things that happened already, and not just things kind of that is happening going forward. So that's something to have in your mind, that this regulatory window is closing, and there are going to be new rules at some point. So as we think about that, what we've done is we just went to talk to our partners and a lot of compliance professionals in our network, and basically asked them the question about, when that regulation comes, what would it look like? And everyone agrees that there are some elements that are going to be required regardless of what the exact language of the regulation would be. The things that we think are going to be common and will be needed across any regulatory regime are what we have on this page now. So the first one is, every regulator will ask you, do you know what's happening, right? Do you have an inventory of every AI agent, of every integration? If I ask you a question about something, can you pull the evidence to say, yes, this happened, or this didn't happen? So that's the first part. Like, there has to be an inventory of everything that's happening in your organization when it comes to AI. The second question would be about your ability to assess those interactions. So can you show why the AI made the decision that it made, right? Can you show the audit trail that shows here's the regulation, here's the policy, here's why we answered the customer in this particular way when they called in to file a dispute, for example. So that's the second one. Third one is you're going to be asked about your ability to intervene. And what we mean by that is, what can you do when an AI agent does something that they're not supposed to do? The answer that most people have today is either we don't know, or, well, we have this system that we're building and we're going to be able to release a patch over the next release in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. But that's something that is a big question mark, that if that would be enough, especially because AI tools have a very big blast radius, and we're going to get to it, where a mistake that you discover in one day can touch thousands of customers very quickly. And then the fourth piece is your ability to resolve risks when they happen. So you know what the AI agent did, you intervened, but things slipped through the cracks. How are you able to show the evidence to the regulator, have the documented trail, kind of go back to the customer, go back to your third-party counterpart to address the issue? So regardless, I guess the point that we're trying to make is, instead of sitting here waiting for a regulation, we're saying that any regulation that will come will probably have elements of those four things, and any solution that you put in place should be able to help you have an inventory of AI use cases, assess it, intervene against it, and resolve issues when they happen, because they will happen. And the thing that comes out of that is the thinking that there has to be a new evidence standard for AI interactions. That evidence standard means that when let's take an example of an AI agent resolving customer complaints or receiving a customer call, you need to be able to show that you have a control that is running in real time, assessing what the user what the AI agent is telling the customer, and where it came from. You have to have the evidence collected and pre-written before the customer complains or the regulator comes to ask you about it. And you need to be able to share that evidence easily in a standard way with your bank partners, with your internal or external counsels, and when the regulators come in. So think about the ideal standard that we need to have is some sort of kind of a document that is always live, that tells you exactly what the AI has been doing in your organization across the different use cases. And that brings us to the next question of, great, this is where we think things are going. This is where we think we need to have. Where does it break today? And again, this is kind of informed by a lot of the discussions we've been having over the last year. We talked to all our partners and some of the compliance professionals in our network to ask them, where does your governance program break today? And what we have in this page is kind of a distillation of what we've been hearing. The first one is, as I alluded to, there's no inventory of everything that's happening. Like, people know, here is the tools that we approved that has the AI label on it. We have the Copilot license, we have the ChatGPT license, but we don't know exactly the use cases that people in our organization are using these tools for. We can collect it, but there's no systematic way to do that. The second piece is that controls cannot keep up. So usually when we talk about controls, we're talking about either first line of defense controls or second line of defense. Those are typically policies, right? Like you have a policy about UDAP or Reg E, and you train your agent, your human agents, to how to use it and how to apply it. But these policies are just living in PDFs, or documents somehow. You can give those to the AI, but you have no guarantees that the AI is actually using these exactly as you intended. And what that results in is that the policy is applied inconsistently, right? Like we've all used AI. We know that it will try to get the best matches, but it doesn't go systematically through every rule to make sure that it is considering each rule kind of in isolation. The fourth point is what I alluded to, which is that just the AI, the reason we think there's a huge potential in AI is that it's very productive, right? Like you can handle 10 times, 100 times the cases that you can handle with human agents. But that also means that the blast radius is very high. Like if you have a customer service agent who demonstrates that they don't understand a certain policy well, you can catch this when they only had 2 or 3 opportunities to kind of make some damage. But the AI agent is going to touch hundreds and thousands of customers before you're even able to detect it. So the blast radius is much bigger, and it's complete kind of different scale than what our control systems have developed to be able to control. And then the final piece, which gets a lot of play and a lot of people talk about, is that generic AI is just not trained necessarily for compliance and regulatory understanding. We've done some research, and we're going to show you in a second, where off-the-shelf, really capable state-of-the-art agents like Cloud Opus 4.8 or ChatGPT 5.4, they on the first question that you ask them, they usually don't get the full kind of answer right away. Like you can prompt them and you can keep asking them questions and you'll get to a full regulatory kind of review that is good enough. But when you think about automation, what you care about is the first answer that they give you, because that's what gets baked into the system versus the chat situation where we can keep going back and forth with your agent. So as I mentioned, we ran some research across different tasks that a compliance professional in a bank or in a fintech has to deal with, things like transaction identity fraud, kind of security incidents, service outages. And what we found out is that the state-of-the-art agents are able to find the complete regulatory regime and give you a complete cited answer in only 21% of the cases on average. As I said, if you keep prompting them, you're going to get higher, but on the first answer, they only get 21%. However, when we tested that against our own models, which we have trained on tens of thousands of cases from sources like the CFPP and other public sources for complaints and financial service incidents. And then we used human experts to benchmark and evaluate and provide feedback back to the models. Our custom models are able to get to something like 93% accuracy on the first blush, and as high up as 97% in some use cases. So all of that tells us that generic AI is not enough. You need something that's purpose-built for the world that we are operating in. So to help you kind of start visualizing what we're talking about, we've put together a quick demo that shows you how embedding the MidLyr capabilities into an off-the-shelf AI agent can help kind of improve the performance on generic AI and generic compliance requests. So let me play the demo.
Let's take a look at an example that compares ChatGPT versus MidLyr. Imagine you work in customer service at a bank. A customer just reported a charge she never made. Your agent drafts a reply. And honestly, it reads great. Polite, professional, walks her through the process. Let's ask AI one question. Is anything in here a compliance violation? First, plain ChatGPT. This is a decent answer. It builds a severity table, and it catches the big Regulation E problems. But notice 2 things. Its very first word is assuming. It has to guess what bank you are. And listen to the language. Generally, typically, potentially. The word generally shows up 10 times. Not one section number in the whole answer. Keep it in mind. We'll grade it in a minute. Now, same question, same ChatGPT, but this time it's connected to MidLyr. One line of MCP config. Watch what comes back. MidLyr returns 4 violations. Risk score, 92. 3 are the same Regulation E issues ChatGPT found, but every finding cites the exact section and quotes the rule. No generally. No guessing. The 4th finding is new. ChatGPT missed it. Misstating her rights while pressuring repayment is a UDAP violation, cited straight from the CFPB exam manual. That means damages and legal fees for the bank. Now grade the 2 answers. First, coverage. ChatGPT called the pressure tactics poor customer service. MidLyr called them a UDAP violation. The word UDAP appears nowhere in ChatGPT's answer. That's a whole category of exposure it missed. Second, citations. ChatGPT gave 0 section numbers. Someone still has to do the legal research. MidLyr quotes the regulation in every finding. You can verify each one on the spot. Real violation or hallucination? You can tell. How do we get this accuracy? We work with compliance experts, chief compliance officers and BSA officers at U.S. banks. They annotate the hard cases. That data builds our proprietary models. That's our reg layer.
So this was a great example of a use case that everyone is doing today, right? Everyone is using ChatGPT to say, like, what should they look at in here? And we think, as we mentioned earlier, that we can have a much better performance when you use fine-tuned models for that. The question is, can you build it yourselves, or do you need some specialized kind of knowledge and training to do that? When we talk to kind of our compliance partners, we hear a lot of very similar things about the challenges of building it yourselves. The first one is that, as you mentioned, spreadsheets are inventory of controls are sitting in spreadsheets. They are created through hard-coded prompt rules. So basically, there's a lot of system prompts that says, like, don't forget this, don't forget that. But eventually, the rules change. There are some periodic manual reviews, like every month or every quarter, you're going through the prompts, making sure that they are accurate. The logging of why did the agent in this particular case that we just saw give that kind of decision is either not available or available in a way that is not very easily shareable or understandable. And then the fifth one is that keeping the reg library. And when we talk about the reg library, we're not just talking about the regulations, we're talking about the agency guidance, the exam manuals, the consent orders, the recent court cases. That is a lot of work, and there's a lot to track, especially for larger organizations that are operating through a lot of different jurisdictions. So I'll hand it over to Ruchin to talk a little bit more, to double click on this whole buy versus build kind of discussion.
Yep. And then before I jump in, just a reminder that if you have questions, feel free to send it in the chat. Let's talk about build versus buy. Next slides, please. So at this point, I hope the message is clear that if you're adopting AI and if you don't have your control layer, you could be in trouble. And the cost of like not doing something here is really high. Because if you look at headlines, every year there's gonna have this like big settlements between like banks and regulators that when they are not doing something right, the cost is really, really high. There's like this US bank cases, Apple Card, Goldman Sachs cases, but there's more you can find out. And next, please. It comes down to, if you really want to make a decision, it comes down to 2 categories from an engineering perspective, which is the features you will need to build, and then the performance of the system, right? Because this is like an AI system. The features can include things like you want to have integrations with your existing systems to pull all the signals, and you wanted to listen to all the regulations and to make sure you stay up to date with what the regulators is talking about. And then you want your system to be audit ready. You have to build all these like kind of monitoring trails to make sure you collect every piece of the evidence. You're gonna do like data sharing with your concerned sponsor banks and the regulators, and you're gonna have access controls. That's like a fine grain. That's like a rich enterprise degree of software to be built. And then the second part is like kind of AI performance. Like if you're just thinking about sitting on top of the frontier model and then with some sorts of prompt tuning, then you probably won't have the good performance comparing to our in-house version. And then I think the performance here is very critical, because with the AI system, if you don't have good coverage, good performance, then you're dealing with like garbage results. So think about those two spectrums, and then our estimated like time to build is probably at least a couple months, and it can take even more. It depends on the skill, the resource you have. And then versus like working with us, it's very fast. Like we have the system ready already. We have like sponsor banks, we have fintechs using our system already, and it's fully customized to your context, which we're going to show you another demo later. So the point here is we can spin up a system that works for you in days, and it's a subscription-based business, and very easy to get started, and we take care of everything for you. Yep, that's I hope this gives you some ideas about like build versus buy.
Yeah. So we've been talking about kind of MidLyr, our platform, what does it do? So I think let's step back for a second and talk about it. Like, what is MidLyr? What are those pieces that we put together in order to make your life easier when it comes to dealing with AI governance? So this is how we think about MidLyr in one page. We have 3 different layers of our MidLyr product. And those 3 work together in order to help you build an effective governance program. The first one, which we referred to a couple of times, is the reg layer. Reg layer is basically the regulatory and policy graph and the fine-tuned models that we're building based on that context. So we have a huge pipeline, and you can see on the left, of regulations coming in, agency publications, exam manuals, consent orders, court cases that we're ingesting every day. We're using that to train our model, and then we use human experts, chief compliance officers, BSA officers, to grade our model performance against their best understanding of how the rules should apply. And then we use that to fine-tune the models to get to that performance that we showed a little bit earlier. RegLayer also allows you to add your own policies on top. So it's not just that we are coming in with the regulations, we help you enforce your policies. And more importantly, we help you show the gaps between where the regulations are and what your policies prescribe. So when there's conflict, we show you that, but also when there are gaps, we show you where you have controls that might be missing. So that's the first section, and it's the core of everything we do. The section at the bottom, the base layer, is basically our API and MCP integration layer. That's what allows us to bake MidLyr into every AI tool that you're using today: ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot, Claude Code, every cursor, every tool that your engineering team is using. But also it allows you to embed that level of regulatory understanding into the products that you're building. So we have an API integration that allows your team to build kind of a surfacing chatbot that is friendly and understands your business, but that's also checking everything that's telling the customer against the regulation and the policies in real time. So that allows your control to span everything that is out there, rather than just be dependent on where the engineering teams can integrate MidLyr. And then the final piece in the middle is the control layer. And the control layer is basically the single pane of glass that allows your compliance team, your governance team to see all the AI use cases, the risks created by each one of those, be able to drill down to individual requests, and be able to push controls in real time. And the way we think generally about all the use cases that is running on MidLyr is that it really happens in 3 different phases. One is the AI does something, or your app does something. They're sending a customer a request for evidence on a dispute, or they're trying to answer a customer complaint. The AI just does something. If that AI agent is connected to MidLyr through base layer, we're able to see that in real time, score it, and give feedback to the agent to change the answer if the risk score is very high. The second piece is that your control team is able in real time to see all the AI interactions that are happening in your organization, aggregated by teams, by individual people, by function, and see the risk, or by app, which is more important, and see the risk created by those different stacks, and be able to drill down to see why the AI is doing what it's doing. And then the third piece is we allow you then to see something and then do something about it. If the AI is, or if not even AI, if like your human agent included a threat to a customer in a collection context, you're able to push a control quickly against it to say, anytime something like this happens, reject it. Here's what you should say instead. So those are like the 3 phases of interaction that is common across all the use cases that we operate in. And we have another demo to show you that kind of in action. I'll play the demo.
We built a web app for the compliance and governance team. This is where the team monitors every AI agent in the company. They interact with the agents, and they inject controls in plain English. Let's zoom into the control page. Every interaction with our agent layer is recorded here. The governance team can review every single one. Filters make it easy to find what you need, and the summary gives you a clean picture across the fleet. Next, let's take a look at the setup page. Here you tell your agents what to watch for. You inject rules into the system. It starts with recommendations. Every agent interaction generates suggested controls automatically. You review the list, approve or dismiss. Approve one, and it applies to every future interaction immediately. Now let's create one ourselves. This one targets the dispute case from Demo 1. Paste in the rule, plain English, no prerequisites, 60-day window, 5-day provisional credit, no repayment pressure. Hit save. The control is live. Every agent follows it from the next interaction on. And if a control isn't working for you, toggle it off or dismiss it. One click. Controls are one part of the alignment page. A quick tour of the rest. First, your company context, who you are and what you run. Second, the regulation page. This is the deep part. Our AI builds a comprehensive taxonomy of the regulations. Every layer, statutes, regulations, agency guidance, exam manuals, we index all of it in-house. Then, we classify your company using your context. The matching rules are applied automatically, so your agents always operate under the right context. Third, your internal policies. Upload your SOPs. Your agents follow them. Lastly, let's verify the control we just deployed. Back to ChatGPT, same dispute draft. Let's see how our agent reacts. The results come back. Same 4 violations as before, plus 1 new finding. Priority 1, internal control failure. It matched our control by name. Dispute replies, no prerequisites, no pressure. The draft fails it 6 ways. Merchant contact, notarized forms, police report, no provisional credit language, repayment demands, credit reporting threats. We deployed that control minutes ago. Every future interaction already follows it. That's the loop. Violation, control, deploy. From drift to fix in minutes. That's MidLyr.
All right. Thank you, automated AI voice. So yeah, this gives you an idea about kind of how it works in practice and how it works with a tool like ChatGPT, but it might as well work with your own internet applications or anything that you're building in the future as well. When we deployed this with our partners, this is what we heard, and we're very happy to hear that the problems that we laid out at the beginning of the presentation are exactly the things that we're hearing positive feedback on. People feel very empowered because now they can just go to the engineering team, they go to the IT team and say, just add this one MCP line, and that's all I need from you. I don't need you to build something custom for me. I just want you to add this MCP line. And when you do that, I'm going to be able to see all the information that I need. And that goes here from one of the compliance professionals we worked with. It's very instructive. Like, no one in their team knew how many AI agents are running, but once they're able to deploy base layer, they're able to get kind of the answer immediately and have that live dashboard that we just showed you. The second piece is the fact that they're able to push those controls in plain English. As I said, policies are great and they're very important, but policies are very slow moving. You need processes to change your policies. You need to train people on new policies. But the ability to see that the AI is doing something and then have MidLyr first recommend to you a new control that you're missing and then be able to push it or try to control yourself, that is very empowering, because now the compliance team is not sitting there at the receiving end of dealing with issues when they happen because they know that the AI is making mistakes. They're able to proactively, again, without involving engineering, without involving anyone, vendors, to actually just push the controls in real time and get the risk mitigation that they need. Richard, you want to talk about our integration and our security as well?
Yep. So when we're building this product, one of the first principles we have is we really want to make this integration easy, because we know, like, in the enterprise setting, you have a lot of things to deal with, different systems and different touch points. So there's like 3 things that we make it extremely easy so that we can spin up a solution in days. So the first one is we built like tons of integration, but here is actually hundreds of integrations, pretty much with all the major SaaS systems. We can easily get connected, regardless is whether CRM or like a documentation system, workflow systems. We can plug into those vendors really easy. And the secondly is MCP. We already demoed this part. It's just like quick and easy. Any AI agents you are using, we can easily get connected. And thirdly, if you have in-house systems, we can easily get plugged in with our SDK solutions and also native API solutions. Next, please. And also, like, one core part of our system is like stay up to date with the regulators, right? So banking is a very regulated industry, and there's like just so many different regulators, FDIC, CFPB, OCC, blah, blah, blah. And we just built massive like API and web crawling based connections so that our system is always stay up to date. From the federal level to the state level, we don't miss any single regulations. So our agents is always operating under the latest context. And then the second part is security, right? So like from day one, we treat this as a enterprise product. What that means is like security is going to be the top most important thing in terms of integration. So we insisted on the highest security standard since day one. As of today, we are SOC 2 Type 2 fully certified. And then we have encryption end-to-end. The fact that we have already previously built a fintech startup, it's like a credit card system that deals with billions of transactions, is already a testimony of like we are able to build really secure systems And then second part is like AI. Because this is an AI system, we deal with large language models. One of the biggest concern we hear from our partners are like they don't want their data to be trained with like they heard about like data leaks through like OpenAI and Anthropic, and we treat that as we treat that seriously, and then because that we only deploy our models on the trusted vendors AWS and Azure. We only use models from those two platforms, but also we promise all our customers we are not gonna train their data to feed into our own model. We only work with like complex experts externally to build those like hard use cases that is from the public data systems. And this is also going to be written in our contract. And lastly, this is like an enterprise product. So you have different parties, different user type of users. So we have fine-grained access controls to make sure like only like the relevant user can only see a subset of the data. So there's like data privacy protections and so on. Yep.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. So this is kind of to recap what we just discussed. Regulation is coming. Examiners are going to be asking about specific things. We don't know what they are exactly, but we know the shape of those requests. Those requests are going to be across use cases, across platforms, across products. So you need a solution that spans all of that. But you need to be able to do that without spending 18 months, 2 years, spending millions of dollars to build those in-house. You need a solution that is easy, that gets you started right away. And we think we built that platform. So thank you for spending time with us today. 3 things before we let you go. The first one is that the recording and slides will be shared with you over email. The email will have a link to book time with us. We'd love to hear kind of your feedback or any further questions that you have after you had time to digest what we just shared today. And then the final piece is that we are going to be on the road this summer. So we have an event coming up in Chicago, another one in LA, and then we have events in New York in the fall. Please check it out. We're going to send you the link to our events page in the email. And if you're able to come in person, we'd love to see you. We'd love to have a deeper discussion about what's happening in your organization and how our solution can help you with some of the challenges that you're seeing today. With that, thank you so much for spending time with us today.